That though, I do want to dive into, because we did promise last episode that we'd talk about the LS response to the bag taking question.
Okay.
So look, I'll say straight up, like, LS has been a long time friend of mine, like long time friend of Thorin's. I don't know what your relationship is with him, Richard Lewis. Like, to be very clear,
do consider him a friend, even though we're one of those friends that, like, you know, we'll only talk when there's some sort of fucked up esports crisis happening. But like, I never had a problem with him. I do ever at any stage of my life. He used to come on my fucking League of Legends podcast before Riot essentially shut that down. First Blood. He was a regular guest. Nothing but love in my heart for him. But
he's been a guest on many LFN shows. He's very respectable. And for what it's worth, Ellis is a wonderful person in general, like behind the scenes. I legitimately believe.
I mean, by the way, this whole topic here, this is the angle that people miss, Monty. In his own misguided way, he's trying to help. Be principled. I'll even tell you, I'll give him extra props that I won't even give to many other people in the industry. Bro, I almost think LS, I think Dom also fits this category. They actually are some of the only people who are the rock stars of esports right now, who hold up the whole fucking industry with their viewership and impact, who almost like are cool enough that they don't act that way. Like, one thing about LS that might shock people is, obviously he heavily agrees with like the fucking, he was massively on Reckless's side in a similar scenario when I made my video, but if you ever watch LS's stream where he addresses my video, he goes out of his way to point out that like he just has different opinions than me. He doesn't like throw me under the bus. By the way, that would have been super popular with his fan base. They were hating the fact that he wouldn't do that, but because he knows me and he knows I'm a legit person, he wouldn't do that. I actually thought that was a very principled stance to take. So in a sense, I can tell in this sense also, Monty, he thinks he's doing the same thing here for Caedrel. He thinks he's sort of like, he doesn't, what's funny is he has no cynical angle. As far as I know, he's not taking a bag. He doesn't have any fucked up thing he's done against gay people. And he's just actually thinking that he's like the fucking voice of reason against the mob who's coming for Caedrel. It's just in this case, unfortunately, even though I appreciate him doing it for me, I think he's misguided in this sense.
It's a very LS thing to do. Like, if you've ever watched, whenever there's any of these, like, you know, dog pile type situations coming in, he's either not involved in the dog pile, even though he would take a position that he could easily just jump in, get some clicks, get some kudos. More often than not, he's in a devil's advocate kind of role.
Yes.
And it's a very, like, often, just because of how the modern internet works, that's a super shit place to be, because there was definitely a sweet spot to the devil's advocatery where you could be like a voice of reason. That's all gone, man. Playing devil's advocate now is just shit. What you're supposed to do is you're meant to assess the battleground and go, well, actually, there's enough people on the opposite side to what's popular that I can grift them, and I'll just play it over to them and what they want to say, you know, like, that's bloody woke nonsense. yes, you're our new god, we love you.
Yes.
Right, so you can do that. Or you just go with the crowd. And you do one or the other. You don't sit in the middle and go, guys, we're all friends. No one makes any money doing that. No one earns any.
No, the joke is everyone hits the centrist the most. They always do.
Exactly. So
now you both have good points. Let's see what we could agree on.
Yeah, exactly. Look, why don't we just find a compromise? There's nothing in that. So unfortunately, like, you know, LS is in that unenviable position. And I think, look, we know Caedrel as well, right? Like, we've watched Caedrel come through, another product of like UK esports and stuff.
I mean, Caedrel used to play for Renegades. I've known Caedrel for a long time. You know,
we all know the guy. But
I do notice there's a trend, Ninja, Caedrel, basically, Monty. People are absolutely at their lowest when they work with you. And when they leave, they become the most impossibly overjoyed success imaginable. But they just, it's about their
Thorin, why can't that happen to me?
Companies. I know, I don't know. I don't get it, mate. I don't get
it. There is, of course, some sort of, we can get back to Lord of the Rings, there is some sort of, like, impossible, you hold it power that you can't win.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
you're just Samwise carrying Frodo. You can't carry the ring yourself.
That's true.
I might not be able to carry the ring for you, Ninja. But anyway, so the prop we haven't got a problem with Caedrel. It's just that, like, what do you want us to do? Do we have to not notice what you've done? Do we have to pretend you didn't delete those tweets? Do we have to pretend that what you're doing isn't completely antithetical to everything you've said? And then it's like, look, okay, do it quietly. Could you do it quietly?
Yeah, just take the bag.
We'll meet you halfway if you just, if you do it quietly, we'll meet you halfway. But no, you want both. And that's the problem. This is our whole thing. If you just accept you can't have both, you can't have the cultural cachet of going, yo, down with the gears, mate. Like, yeah, what up? Hey.
Remember, the only real price is like a week of bad comments in it.
Yeah, and then go.
Take your bad week of comments.
Just having that Saudi
and fuck off and take the money. There you go.
Yeah.
But their whole thing's like, and I'm being criticised too. I don't think that's that big a deal.
Exactly. And people are criticising me.
I know.
Oh, you are sleeping on a mattress stuffed with bloodstained cash, bro. Like, what do you want? So it's like, unfortunately, I think what Nick was kind of thinking of when he came into this was like, he's been in that position, like probably at least like 3 times I can think of. He's been the enemy of the day. And what I mean by that is when the whole internet comes out to fuck you up. And it's happened to me. It's happened to Duncan. It must have happened to Monte, right?
Of course.
So when that happens, it actually, look, I don't want to sound like a pussy, but like it's kind of fucked up because it's like, every time you open, like, social media might be your window into the world if you don't have a particularly balanced life, and a lot of us in esports don't have a balanced life at all. So every time we go to open the window to the world, I wonder what's happening. Fuck you, kill yourself. Yeah. Right, well, come back in an hour. And it's not getting better in an hour. It's like a 48-hour deluge of everyone that's ever had beef with you coming out of the woodwork.
And also people who you may have formerly respected or worked with just fucking dogpiling you like pieces of shit.
Yeah, that's the other problem as well, right? People who nominally like you, people you think like you, they're then tempted into the shit. Look how it's going. The tide is turning. Fuck, maybe Mordor is going to be the... We'll just do Lord of the Rings analogies all episode. Yeah. Maybe Mordor is going to be the dominant power. Maybe Gondor is going to fall. So fuck it. Yeah,
also, by the way, Thorin. It works. The reason that also works as an analogy, if you think about it, is it was indeed Amazon who also fucked up Lord of the Rings in a way, didn't they? They also took Tolkien and perverted something.
Also, you're named after a Tolkien character?
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's all happening. It's all happening.
It all works.
So anyway, it's like that is very damaging and upsetting. It's not a nice place to be. It certainly happened to me. It happened to me in 2015, and I've said now, because I'm in a better place, I can kind of like joke about it. That was just one day where it was just like, well, my life's over. It's done. I might just kill myself in the hotel room. I might just actually do that. That might just be easier than dealing with the fallout from all of this DreamHack stuff. And then, like, you sat in the room going, if I put the cord from the iron over the wardrobe, it'll give me enough fucking torque on the neck. And, it's really fucked up when it's just like you never think anyone's ever going to have anything good to say about you again. You're unemployable because everyone detests you. So it's like, that is not a good place to be. And as I said, unfortunately, it's happened to Nick and it's happened to all of us. And it's like, he saw that happening to Caedrel, I think. And so he was like, I don't want... Get down, Mr. President! So he's like jumped in.
It's why the thing that's most memeable, sadly, about this that got him in trouble was that weird line about like how he has this cognitive empathy. I know what he means by that. That's exactly what you're saying, Richard. He's also beating himself in the center of the storm when people are attacking you like this. And he knows that, like, even if you... In this case, he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. But even if you've done something wrong, that still is somewhat inhuman treatment, because it is just like you're just getting mobbed by people and just fucking... You're in the town square and the stock's getting all the fruit thrown at you, aren't you?
But I think the issue here is, like, I felt like most of the probably, I'm sure Cadrol got some nasty messages. Like, I'm not going to say he didn't, because obviously we all know those come in. I'm sure people told him to kill himself, because they always do. But most of the criticism was pretty, I think, justified given what he had said and done previously.
I think so, yeah.
And like, and I understand why Nick wants to come in and do this, but also the way he did it was not helpful to Cadrol, because basically the arguments...
Listen, it was helpful in this sense, Monte. He stupidly was the flak grenade that attracted all the attention to himself to get destroyed, while Cadrol got like a few days of reprieve. Like, oh, thank God that LS guy's taken off. But I agree, he didn't help Cadrol's cause. If anything, he made it worse.
Yes, because the problem is that he used all of the arguments that we know are bullshit, and like using the whataboutism and like talking about, well, wait till you find out where cobalt comes from in your phone. And I'm just going to explain.
One. He's now made cobalt a meme. That was actually a good point before. You made it a meme now.
Yeah,
so
and he's an ally.
Yeah.
360 days.
That is the worst memeable one, isn't it? The idea of like, listen, except when he isn't working with regimes that kill people, he's totally on board. He's squared. Yeah,
it is mental, isn't it? Like,
he only works with Hamas 3 days a week. The rest of the time, he's completely on Israel's side. Like, excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he likes to dig them tunnels.
I know.
So I thought it would
5 days out of the year. Give him a break.
I thought it'd be good to talk about just like why, these arguments don't work at the start of this, because it directly ties into the Esports World Cup and the conversations we've been having, which is like, we all know there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, guys. There's a difference, though.
Yeah, that's played out.
We all know that. Yeah.
I feel like everyone on some level agrees with it
of
too.
Course.
The problem obviously is that when people say that, they do then mean, therefore the conclusion is you must do my form.
Therefore you must.
It's like, well, listen, the first part of the sentence, you had me in the first half. The second part, I can't go along with that. But I think the funny thing is, I actually think I agree with you, Richard. That is actually a played out point. I feel like every person, even like right-wing boomer people on some level, know that yes, all the money has some level of blood. The question obviously is, how many hands did it pass through? How much agency did you have and what you did? Yeah, but I feel like
can you live a normal life without the things? You know what I mean? And sure.
And by the way, he is right. Yes, cobalt is mined in a horrific way. We should all be more considerate of that.
We could all move into the Great Smoky Mountains in Appalachia and live off the land and without, with our own well and no electricity. We could do that. That's true.
The joke being, people actually think that's like the secret plan of Last Free Nation to make an actual real our own ethno state or something in the mountains of Appalachia, like you say. But it's not. It's just a fucking video game company that makes podcasts. But again, guys, keep fanficking that shit, because we called it Last Free Nation, which now seems incredibly prescient. We just did it because it was a funny name based on a pirate theme. But it turned out that actually became our destiny to be the Last Free Nation as a literal Czech Notes murderous regime silences everyone in the entire industry using a mixture of wealth and intimidation. So in some ways, it was on the nose, Monte. You nailed it.
Who could have known at the time? But when we look at these arguments, it's like, yes, surely we could live a very extremist, like, homesteading lifestyle in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in the mountains of North America, right? That's definitely a possibility. But we couldn't engage in our careers or professions, and that's not a realistic goal. So there's a difference between using a cell phone, which you have to use to have modern life, especially in a tech-heavy industry like esports. You can't not have a smartphone. That's a ridiculous thing to ask of somebody. And there aren't options for mining cobalt that don't come out of Central Africa, guys. Like, shit sucks. We all know it sucks.
And I'll just put this out there. Crazy idea. Notice nobody is stopping you as you have a phone with cobalt in it from saying cobalt's fucked up in its mind. Maybe we should all be considerate of that. That is what sports washing stops you doing. That's quite a key distinction I'd throw out there. Because I noticed that people, including on that LS stream, tried to make that stupid point, which I think is one of the most absurdist, stupid points that some people are genuinely thinking in good faith they're making, which goes like this. You could also just take the money and then turn around and go, I love gays and they're all fucked up in Saudi. You couldn't do that, you cretin. That is obviously built into it. Yeah, as the background check shows. That's the one thing you can't do. Even that idea, I still don't get why this is still
you can't.
You know the one where they go, why not take the money and give some to a charity? I'll never understand that. I'll use the same analogy. Right, I took money from terrorists, but I gave some money to their victims. That would never be considered good, would it? That angle will never, no matter how many times you make the numbers sound good, it will never make sense as an argument.
Guys,
is the problem.
They are signing non-disparagement clauses in contracts. Like, they can't.
And deleting old shit.
And deleting the other old shit, obviously, which is part of their contracts, guys.
Yes,
the thing about these contracts is I have never seen a contract that makes you retroactively destroy your opinions. But people are signing these deals. And then on top of that, guys, you think you can just turn around and say, like, oh, I got the bag now. Do you think Saudi Arabia doesn't have a gazillion high-powered American lawyers to fuck you up on the other side of that? Of course they do.
Yeah.
Like, they will. I mean, look, by the way, they also just murder people in other countries. So probably wouldn't do that in this case, but also, I wouldn't put it off the table entirely.
In the modern day, NDAs do matter. I can tell you, forget the Saudis, just two organisations, Evil Geniuses and G2, everyone who signs an NDA, I can tell you, will not do interviews about things until that NDA runs out. They've all told me that. Yeah. They're all super scared they'll be taken to court, raked over the court. So if that's just T-Mogs, mate. You think an entire regime, as you say, that has essentially unlimited funds.
And an assassination squad.
Everyone's going to be
literal
really scared.
assassination squad.
I'll give you another point as well. You know what, you were using the analogy of cobalt, right? So it's like, here's another problem with the, we all agree, gotta have a phone. We just have to have one, right? Like, it's like, we could live a lifestyle where we don't, but here's the problem. Where are the non-cobalt phones?
True.
That I can go and buy? Yeah. What's the ethical alternative?
Yes.
There really isn't one. And whereas in this instance, there are plenty of
alternatives. Speaking of being an ally 360 days of the year, how about you just, here's an idea, guys. How about you just be an esports co-streamer 360 days of the year and then not be one 5 days of the year? Whoa.
Like, I don't understand where it's like the argument of, okay, look, we all know esports is basically make hay while the sun shines, right? Like being a streamer, you got to just get at it and do as much as you can in a short period of time because, like, some people are just inexplicably popular and they themselves on some level know this isn't going to last.
Which, by the way, is in theory actually a better argument, though, which is the idea of, like, if I don't take the bag now, there might not be one in 3 years. That I actually can understand. I agree with that. It just still doesn't justify it, does it? But that's actually a better argument.
It doesn't justify it, but yeah, at least it's a better framing.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the problem with the argumentation around, so I must do a deal with Saudi is, I know how much you're making anyway per year. Insane amounts
millions
of money, like unfathomable amounts. Yeah. You're making millions every year anyway. So to say, well, I have to have this instance where I get 100 grand a day for 2 weeks, well, it's like, it's a drop in a bucket, right? So it's like, you're not even selling your principles at market value, like what you're worth. You're selling the principles just to have more. And so to bring it back to Nick, what he's done is essentially defend the indefensible because he doesn't want the person that's doing the indefensible thing to get heat because he can empathize with what it's like to get heat. Now, I don't think Nick's ever done anything equivalent to this. I can't think of a time he's ever sold out his principles. Can't think of a time he's ever sold out full stop. Can't think of a time he's ever been really on, like, on the bad side of the argument, right? On the
joke is, even when he defends Joe Marsh, I know he does that for real things Joe Marsh did for and to him, which I always tell him this, like, but he didn't do those things for me, so I don't give a fuck, mate. Look, if he was really nice to you, I totally understand why you're really nice to him and you think he's got a different side, but even on that one, he's just misguided. He's not wrong. He's doing it for good reasons.
Duncan and I have this relationship for everyone at home. There are people Duncan knows I don't call out and will actually defend because I value loyalty, which is the rarest personality trait in esports. I actually value loyalty quite highly. And if someone has been nice to me, I might give, it's like Spider-Man in fucking Family Guy. Everyone gets one. I might let you slide on something. I don't mean from a journalistic standpoint. If you do something that's unethical and it's in the public interest, obviously I'm coming to get you. I don't give a fuck who you are. But if you just make, look, we got friends who took the Saudi bag. Of course. And what we do is, what I do, again, I'm not speaking for you guys, I might omit their names while making a broader point about how bad it is to take the bag. I don't need to tunnel in on the people. Like, when we talk about this documentary now, I know you guys are going to bring up some names. I'm not gonna say anything bad about those names. I had friends that were in this documentary.
We all have friends in this documentary.
I got people that, like, lifted me up when I was at my lowest point in this documentary. I'm not shitting on them now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not doing it, guys. I ain't gonna do that. And in a weird, fucked up way, it is kind of it's a very tough road to walk. Where Nick put himself, I get it. Like it's very tough because when you see somebody that you like or you care about or who's been good to you or shown you loyalty or maybe like they were the get down Mr. President when people were fucking firing bullets at your head, you want to reciprocate. It's just
By the way, one thing you're touching on here though, I think is a key point to make, which is one thing I think is a very unfair shit attempt at a gotcha on us when it comes to this topic is the notion of like that we are obliged, Richard, me and you specifically, to call out every single person who took the money. It's like, no, I'm sorry. We never ever signed up to be the sheriff of esports. We don't have a badge. Nope. We were never given any of the perks of being a sheriff, by the way, including that would include like a living wage, respect, authority over, but all the things you won't give any of us. So since we didn't get it, yes, guess what? Like all humans, we are self-motivated by things that matter to us. And that means that, yes, I will hunt down people I don't like who did this much more than people I like who did it. Now, certainly I agree with you. If there's a journalistic standard involved, like the person I was involved with did something fucked up, here's what people don't know. Maybe I still wouldn't call that person out. The difference is, though, I'd find a journalist who didn't have a personal connection to him and just give them the info and go, look, mate, you have at it. Like, at the end of the day, I can't do it. Yeah, I'd have to be. But that's one area. I think that's one of the worst straw men you have, which is because the idea, the example is the Caedrel one. People told me, well, why don't you do a video about all these other people? One. So now to make one video, I have to make 50 videos. Like that's absurdity already. Like I can't. There's no logistical time for that. Secondly, I have to make 49 videos that won't get any views and have no interest in the industry. It doesn't make any sense for my business model. And then lastly, like I say, I'm really making a video to go, Dagon's there. Oh, he hasn't said anything about gays or Saudi, but he's just there as well. End of this video. Now, would you like to watch one where Caedrel on record lies a bunch of times? Like, people are taking this too far. We're not the sheriffs, Richard. We just do the stories we care about. If you care about a story, get your guy on it and get him to do it. Go ahead and do them all. Do them all.
But it's like, that's the other key distinction. Like, it's just the moral grandstanders, man. Like, because, like, you have to understand, for people like us, maybe it comes across as some sort of fucking distilled form of autism or something. But, like, our principles really do inform our personality. And, like, there is, like, a bunch of journalistic principles, like, that I already held in my life that probably on some level drew me towards journalism. And the more journalism I did, the more it kind of created a feedback loop of those, and it's like, so the unfortunate reality is, like, the people who have been hypocritical, the people that have sold out their principles, yes, they do fucking stand out more. Of course they do. And I am drawn to criticizing those people. Meanwhile, I might have a friend who's like, look, Rich, man, I just got my first kid. I got to take this bag, like, blah, blah. Times have been hard. it's been lean for me. And I'll go, okay, well, the money still sucks and what you're doing still sucks, but like, I don't have to don't have to come off the top rope on you in public.
I've said that I think casters should take the jobs at Esports World Cup, and I believe that. I mean, if
you're the most interesting one of the three of us, because I do think on some level, like, there was definitely a zig where you zagged, where you probably could have been doing this.
Oh, for sure.
I actually think that. Me and Duncan were absolutely in a corner.
No. Like basically when this all started going down and the absorption, the purchase of Faceit and ESL happened. I mean, I was consulting for them at the time. Now, I signed my consulting contract prior to knowing that this was happening, right? But like, there is a world where I seriously believe that if I had wanted to work full time on these projects, like, I could have probably worked full time on this documentary. No joke. Like, I could have worked in production. I could have worked with their dev relations. I have friends that
I could have seen you as the talking head. See Team Liquid as a StarCraft, and then they're like, but of course, then the Falcons.
But like, think about me as well. Like, so there's several different angles that my life could have gone. Probably I wouldn't have been talent. I probably would have been like in a VP role or something like that, but working with production or working with the devs. But if I had been talent, I mean, obviously, I would have been a great draw for League of Legends if they had hired me for that. Like, oh, here's Monte back on the mic on League of Legends. Now, the question is, would Riot have allowed me to do that? Because, of course, they would have to approve that. But, to be fair to Riot, as much as they fucked me, they did give approval for me to, like, cast Twitch Rivals for League of Legends. So maybe they would have. I don't know. But there's certainly like that possibility. There's certainly a possibility with my multi-esport background that I could have been in the job that Quickshot's in, right? So I think there were.
I mean, obviously, very jarring hearing him record all the pickup lines in this fucking documentary as well.
So
very jarring.
So yeah,
that's what I mean about like.
So anyway, like but the reason why I think casters should work for this is like this is like one of those things like owning a cell phone. Okay, you can't escape cobalt in the cell phone. If you are a caster, you cannot escape working esports World Cup forever, in my opinion. So you might as well just do it now, because
now that I do disagree with. I think what it should be apparent to everybody now is this is an absolute flash in the pan crock of shit manufactured.
Of course, but
it has no future whatsoever.
I agree, Richard, but again, this costs such a small amount of money compared to the money they spend on everything else that it will probably just like...
It don't matter, man. What I've learned from talking to people behind the scenes, the Saudis are bean counters, bro.
All right. Well, anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Let me explain why I think people should do this. So first off, even in the near term, Richard, the Counter-Strike circuit is dominated by ESL. If you say no to EWC, well, ESL can just fucking blacklist you from all ESL events outside of EWC. So Counter-Strike talent can't say no. League of Legends talent can say no because there's an entire other circuit. They can say no for now, right? But now that Riot's paying them, maybe Riot's going to pressure their casters, and prefer those who go to EWC and give them, better spots in international competitions. But the reason why LFN talent, I think should go to this is because the guys who go to this don't get to do any international events. Like Riot will not. It doesn't make any sense, okay, that Riot gives their premier casting opportunities to talent that cast the worst league historically in the world and is now, people used to say, well, it's because the English language audience knows them. The English language of LCK is now more watched than the North American League.
Oh, of course.
And you have people from the North American League who are now objectively less viewed in English by a lot, not even by a small, by a lot, who are doing finals between two Korean teams of which they have very little knowledge of. So the entire premise is absurd. But the only way you can do an international event in League of Legends, if you are people who go to the Esports World Cup, is to do the Esports World Cup. And the only way you would get considered to maybe move up at Worlds at MSI is to be part of these events, because the ding-dongs who run Riot Esports don't watch the LCK. So they would only see you at international events.
Yes.
So like, what's your fucking career option, right? Not to mention that a lot of the people who do the Esports World Cup broadcast in LoL do other games also. They're multi-game casters. Take Wolf. He does Overwatch. He worked on Overwatch League with me. Yep. He is notoriously a multi-game caster starting in StarCraft. Wolf is the only person that I am aware of who has done analysis in 3 different genres, FPS, RTS, and MOBA, which is insane if you think about it. And so his entire career is based around being a multi-esports talent. How the fuck is he supposed to do that without going to Esports World Cup? You can't. And this is the thing. Like, we can talk about decisions that people made. It is very easy to not co-stream Esports World Cup when you make a bunch of money. It is less easy to make these decisions when you are attached to developers who are now getting paid by Esports World Cup, or in ESL's case, literally owned by Saudi Arabia, to say no because the other ramifications of saying no are so serious to your career.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I also think it is important to understand you are not entitled to a career.
Sure,
you are not entitled to do the thing.
Well, Richard, but you and I agree on that point, which is like, my response to this situation is like, just do something else, right? Just fucking figure it out. But many people are not willing to take that risk.
No, and I get that, and the problem, this is the crux of the issue, is it's like, look, I get that it's hard if you make a decision that is going to maybe lock you out of future opportunities of doing the thing you love, but it's like, you absolutely don't get not all of us get to do the things that we love. But here's what we all get to do. We do get to live our lives from beginning to end imbued with what our principles are and our values. Yes. And we get to carry that on through our friends and our family.
Well, Richard, I think we're all people who would rather die with our values intact than a lot of money. But I don't think many other people are like that. I don't want to be on my... The thing is, having a pile of money on my deathbed doesn't do anything for me. Knowing I wasn't a shit person does a lot for me in that situation.
Yeah, it's the cheapest shit. Honestly, there is no long lasting value. Like, put it this way, you can go, I can have the bag now, so I can pay for the house and have the car and do all this. But like, honestly, you know when they make up that bullshit saying where it's like money can't buy you happiness. Money absolutely can buy you happiness, but it just buys you a very different kind. It doesn't resonate as strong. It doesn't have the same kind of luster. It's basically, it buys you like some temporary ephemeral happiness, the type of trivialities and trifles that you're meant to grow out of over time as you progress through your life, and you're meant to become deeply philosophical and spiritual, and you're meant to get a better handle on like the infinite cosmos and all this stuff. That's what's meant to happen as you get older. But like, sure, you can live in a fucking deferred state of fucking arrested development for the entirety of your life, and just anything you want on a whim, press a button and it appears. What's the fucking point?
Yep.
What is the point in that? What is the point in just having like unlimited anything I can conceive of? I can have it now, can I? I can just press a button and I just have it. I want to go here, so I go there. I want to meet somebody, so I can just pay and meet them. I want to eat this. I can, but they don't sell it around here, Richard. I'll just fly it in. I remember, like, it was like Jonathan Woodgate. This is such a mad reference, but Jonathan Woodgate was a footballer, right, Monte? And he was like,
it sounded like I should know. Great. Okay, yes, indeed.
Yeah. Like he's like a Middlesbrough kid. Right, and I remember I saw him one night. He was wasted and like setting fire to like banknotes and just like being mad. And then he ended up somehow, despite being injured for ages, he got a move to Real Madrid. And the story goes that he used to fly in a particular type of food from Middlesbrough that you can only get in Middlesbrough. They only make it right in Middlesbrough, called a parmo, which is just basically like a breaded chicken with bechamel sauce on, and then a topping like a pizza. So hugely calorific. That's what did for me. I was thin until I discovered parmos. And he used to get them frozen. From a place, I can't remember the name of the place, it was Malone's or something. He used to fly them out to Real Madrid while he was injured, by the way, and he shouldn't be eating food like that. It's like, I think about examples of just like this insane decadence and access that money brings, and I think, no wonder you feel your life is empty. Well, you got to have a little bit of struggle. You got to have a little bit. You just got to have enough. Like, I'm not talking about grinding poverty. That's horrible. Fuck that. Like, no doubt, the person in grinding poverty is looking up at the person with a bit of money going, yeah, fuck, money definitely can buy you happiness. But again, the happiness button, how bored are you going to get?
By the way, I could even spin it this way. One of the areas most people acknowledge in terms of like psychological framing is things like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, etc. The whole point is, this is why absolutely categorically people like Caedrel are completely wrong. Their logic goes, but the bag I'm being offered is even bigger and it might be once in a lifetime. So if I don't take it, what does that mean about my future? It's like, no. The point is, the reason we give some quarter to the poor person when he steals the bread to eat is he's just fulfilling his basic needs, which is stay alive. That's it. Well, the problem is, until you get above a certain level of like your basic needs taken care of, on some level you can't even psychologically start framing things as like, is this necessary? Should I invest in that? Is this a luxury? Is it a necessity? The bottom layer of that hierarchy is all the necessities just to be alive and to be a person, basically. So the difference is, I can forgive 1,000 times over the tiny caster who only does some shitter region or smaller esports, who has to take this gig to have any place on the ladder or on the totem pole of esports. That guy, I get it, he maybe does have to pay his rent. The problem with someone like Caedrel is he already basically has a golden goose shitting out golden eggs, and he's like, but I want like a second goose in case the first goose one day dies. It's like, mate, that is just greed. The joke, like the meme goes with all you kids now, is that is the sort of greed they talked about in the Bible. That is just some like, again, when would it ever end by that logic, Caedrel? By that logic, if they offered you $1 trillion bag, you'd go, I'm not going to get another trillion offer. It would never end why that logic is so greedy, it self-sustains. And also, I'll throw back to another detail that people always miss about this topic, about who we call out. Notice, if you're the guy who goes, look, I've had an offer. Oh, I'm really fucking tearing myself apart. Sometimes I think I should take it because I need the gig and I need the money, but also I'm not quite comfortable with it. I've heard some of the things you guys said in that Sideshow said in his video. I don't want to necessarily support a regime like that. If you and ah like that and you tear yourself apart and at the end you end up making what I might think is the wrong decision, you take the bag, you do the event, but you shut the fuck up and just do the event, already I have way more respect for you. The ones I hate are the ones we're talking about here, where it's like you take the bag, you know it probably is wrong, but you didn't really tear yourself apart. In fact, you tore yourself apart over how am I going to frame this so I still sound like I'm the good guy? What PR damage control can I do so I can take the bag but still get no criticism? And then on top of it, the worst ones I think are the ones that either are openly hypocritical or even worse, go out of their way to make it sound good. Again, that is the detail everyone is missing about the Saudi thing. The Saudis' one grace they will grant you is you are allowed to just shut the fuck up and take the money. They don't yet make you stand on some sort of a Soviet stage and do a fake speech and explain that everyone's a collaborator.
Yeah.
Like, they don't do that right now.
There.
So the difference is, if you're the talent that takes it sort of with like a look, like a dog that's stolen a fucking sausage and like, oh, I know I did wrong, side eyes. If you do that, I at least can go, okay, he knows he did wrong. I hate the ones that are brazen about it. They take the money. They never really had any moral qualms. And now they're like, and in fact, it's a good thing that I'm doing this. Like, that's the cocksucker I can't handle. That's the one I'm going to come after 10 times harder.
Yeah.
All right.
And that brings us nicely.
Oh, they have the gall to dare to say that line. You'd take the bag to fuck you.
That brings us nicely to the documentary, actually.
Yeah.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.